In today's video, we are going to understand a very important concept called the dopamine discipline. The purpose of this video is to explain why people today struggle with focus, procrastination, lack of motivation, mobile addiction, and inability to maintain discipline. After listening to this video, you will understand that the problem is not a lack of willpower, but the way your brain's reward system works. This video will help you learn how to retrain your brain so that your study, work, and self-control improve automatically. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain that is responsible for motivation, desire, and reward-related feelings. People often think dopamine gives happiness, but that is not entirely true. Dopamine does not directly give happiness, it signals the brain that doing a particular action will feel good later. Whenever a person desires something or wants to achieve a goal, dopamine is the chemical driving that desire. In the past, dopamine used to be released after effort. When someone studied, worked hard, or pursued a goal consistently, dopamine was released after achieving success. This taught the brain that hard work is important and effort pays off. Through this process, discipline naturally develops. However, in today's modern world, dopamine is easily available without effort. Mobile phones, social media, short videos, online games, pornography, junk food, and constant entertainment give the brain instant dopamine. These do not require any effort. Just scrolling or clicking gives the reward. When the brain repeatedly receives dopamine without effort, it develops a habit of seeking instant gratification. This is called dopamine overload. In this state, the brain avoids slow, boring, or effortful tasks. Studying, reading, working on a single task for a long time, exercising, or following discipline feels difficult. People often think they lack motivation or are lazy, but the real reason is a disrupted dopamine system. This is why many people start studying but lose focus within minutes. They constantly check their phones or seek distractions. They think, "I'll just take a short break and then study," but the break never ends. This happens because the brain prioritizes pleasure over effort. Dopamine discipline means not eliminating dopamine, but controlling it in the right direction. The goal is to link dopamine to effort and work, not just relaxation and pleasure. When dopamine is disciplined, the brain learns to accept effort. The first principle of dopamine discipline is to limit easy and instant pleasures. This does not mean completely avoiding mobiles, entertainment, or social media. It means using them in a controlled and limited way. Excessive daily exposure to dopamine spikes disrupts brain balance. The second principle is to embrace boring and low-stimulation activities. Discipline develops in a person who can work without excitement. When you work without music, mobile, or distractions, the brain gradually learns to stay calm. This calmness is the foundation for long-term focus. The third principle is to accept pain and discomfort. Modern humans avoid discomfort. When a task feels difficult, people run toward distractions. But growth always comes with discomfort. When a person works even without feeling like it, the brain becomes stronger. The fourth principle is to earn dopamine before consuming it. This means completing essential tasks first and then taking rewards. If someone takes pleasure first and tries to work later, the brain postpones effort. But when the reward comes after effort, discipline develops. The fifth principle is related to morning routine. The start of the day is crucial for dopamine balance. If one wakes up and immediately gets exposure to mobile, social media, or high stimulation, the brain spends the entire day seeking the same stimulation. Therefore, mornings should be simple and calm. Dopamine detox does not mean completely eliminating dopamine. It means limiting dopamine sources for some time so the brain can reset. When the brain resets, it begins to enjoy small and simple things. Studying, working, and self-improvement gradually feel easier. Long-term practice of dopamine discipline improves focus, consistency, and self-control. A person no longer depends on external motivation. They do not need extra energy or mood to start work. Discipline becomes a habit, not a burden. Finally, it is important to understand that discipline is not innate talent. It develops by training the brain's reward system. When dopamine works in the right direction, a person can stay committed to their goals and consistently take action. When someone practices dopamine discipline for a long time, a noticeable change occurs. Tasks that previously felt heavy or boring now feel manageable. The brain starts to accept effort as normal. What once seemed difficult becomes ordinary. Dopamine discipline teaches that boredom is not the enemy. Modern life tries to eliminate boredom immediately. But boredom is necessary for deep thinking, planning, and creativity. Continuous stimulation destroys creativity. Gradually, dopamine discipline increases attention span. A person who could focus only for a few minutes can now focus for hours. This directly improves study, work, and skill development. A person achieves more meaningful work in less time. It also improves emotional control. When dopamine does not spike at every small stimulus, emotions become stable. People do not get irritated over small things. Stress management improves, building mental strength to handle difficult situations. Dopamine discipline also improves decision-making. The brain no longer seeks instant pleasure, so long-term benefits are prioritized over short-term rewards. This ability separates successful people from others. It positively affects sleep. Avoiding unnecessary stimulation during the day calms the brain at night, resulting in deep and quality sleep. Good sleep strengthens focus and energy the next day, creating a positive cycle. People often think dopamine discipline makes life boring. The truth is opposite. When dopamine is balanced, small and simple things become satisfying. Ordinary food, conversations, and daily routines feel meaningful. This is true contentment. Dopamine discipline teaches avoiding constant comparison. Watching other people's lives on social media confuses the dopamine system. Discipline helps a person focus on their own journey, not others' highlight reels. Over time, a person realizes that life is not about always feeling good. It is about doing the right things consistently. This emotional maturity grows naturally through dopamine discipline. True freedom comes when one controls their desires, not when every desire is fulfilled. When a person learns to control dopamine, they depend less on external factors and more on themselves. Dopamine discipline becomes part of one's character. It affects speech, thinking, and time management. These changes gradually transform life direction. Finally, the dopamine discipline is not a magical solution. It is not instant. But a person who practices it sincerely experiences deep, lasting changes. Focus, consistency, and self-control develop naturally. The main lesson is, by controlling dopamine and linking pleasure to effort, we can improve not only work performance but also lead a balanced and meaningful life. To summarize, the key lesson of the dopamine discipline is that your brain can be trained like a muscle. When you link pleasure with effort rather than instant gratification, your habits, focus, and self-control naturally improve. Discipline is not punishment, it is a skill that allows you to achieve meaningful results consistently. One of the biggest misconceptions is thinking that discipline makes life boring. In reality, when dopamine is controlled, life becomes richer. Simple tasks, like reading a book, taking a walk, completing a project, or even cooking, start to feel rewarding. This is because your brain has learned to value effort and achievement, rather than relying on instant pleasures. Over time, dopamine discipline builds emotional resilience. You stop overreacting to small frustrations. Stressful situations no longer feel overwhelming because your mind is trained to remain calm and focused. You start making decisions based on logic and long-term benefits, rather than immediate impulses. Dopamine discipline also increases mental clarity and creativity. Without constant distractions, your brain has space to reflect, plan, and generate innovative ideas. Creativity thrives in calm, focused minds. You start to notice small details, patterns, and solutions that were previously overlooked. The practice of dopamine discipline is gradual. It is not about perfection but about consistent, small improvements. Even small daily efforts, like avoiding unnecessary phone use, completing one task without distractions, or embracing a boring task, reinforce the brain's reward system over time. These small steps compound into long-term growth and improvement. Another benefit is better sleep quality. By avoiding high-stimulation activities late at night, your brain relaxes naturally. Deep and restful sleep enhances memory, focus, and overall energy, creating a positive cycle of productivity and discipline. Dopamine discipline also teaches a critical lesson about true freedom. Freedom is not